everyone, Christiana here for Carb3 TV for another edition of the Poker Buzz. Today we're going to talk about the 2009 Poker Hall of Fame. The nominees have recently been narrowed down to 9 players. We've got one of those players on the phone, Barry Greenstein, to talk about it. Hey Barry, how's it going?
Oh, everything's cool.
Alright Barry, so they've just narrowed it down and you are still on the list. What do you think your chances are for being inducted into the Hall of Fame this year?
Oh, what'd they narrow it down to? I don't really know what's going on.
Oh, they just narrowed it down to the final 9. You, along with Tom McAvoy, Phil Ivey,
yeah,
Dan
I know about
Negreanu.
that, but I heard there were 10, and then they said that Durer hadn't been around long enough or something like that. So that's what you mean by narrowed it down. I thought you meant it's down to like less than that. Anyway, I'm not really sure. I think the consensus that I've heard, and I agree with that consensus, is that Mike Sexton deserves to be in the Hall of Fame.
Mm-hmm.
And I think a lot of us who've been around for a while know the contributions that Mike's made. Some of the younger players just know him as the voice of the WPT and think that maybe he's getting in for that. But Mike worked tirelessly for many years, and of course, I guess people also know he's associated with Party Poker. But even before that, Mike was just a trooper for poker, just trying to get it into the mainstream. And so anyone who doesn't think Mike deserves there just wasn't around when he was making a lot of his contributions. A lot of his contributions went unrecognized, and he actually was the first one to get mainstream advertising. He had a clothing contract.
Yeah, that's right. Lamode, is that right?
So Mike, if someone's saying Mike doesn't deserve there, it probably just doesn't deserve to be there. It just means they don't know what he had been doing, and with no personal gain really for many years before poker got big.
Absolutely.
So anyway, so that's my first feeling about the Hall of Fame. The next thing, some of the young players, even Tom Dwan, who's obviously a good player, again, a lot of them don't realize poker's changed. But when I was young, I went traveled around the world trying to play anyone I could. Heads up, no limit hold'em. I'd always play to the end of every game. And so when they look at even some like Doyle's already in, but a lot of us were playing anyone we could and going wherever we could. We couldn't be really as good as the current crop of young players because poker's evolved, and now you can play the whole world. So I'd never say that I could compete with the current best players when I was young, but I never found anyone who could beat me.
Right.
So I do think that even though poker's changed, if someone's been here just for a couple of years, even if they've played, a trillion hands, they haven't stood the test of time. On the other hand, most people feel that Phil Ivey is still young and haven't gotten shouldn't get into the Hall of Fame yet. I really look at things instead of just talking about how good someone is, that it's often, who they beat, whatever. A lot of times in poker, the money is just won mostly from bad players, not from good players anyway. I look at what someone's accomplished, and really, if you look at the crop of players who they have up, in tournaments, I guess Eric Seidel has won more bracelets than someone like Phil Ivey. But if you include tournaments and cash games and taking anyone on live and online, Phil's got the best resume. And I don't think it's necessarily how old you are as far as standing the test of time. It's how successful you've been in all the different venues. And what challenges have you overcome? And so I don't really think anyone can argue. It's like doing your homework. Do you get less credit if you do it in an hour and someone else does almost as good a job and it takes them 3 hours? Phil got maybe got it done and his career done. I guess now you could say 15 years he's been playing poker, but it's been a pretty marvelous career. So if I were voting, I would vote for Mike Sexton and Phil Ivey. Those would be my 2 choices.
Well, you've had among the same accomplishments. You've played with the best players for years, both in the cash games and in the tournaments. How important is someday being in the Hall of Fame for you?
Well, I don't totally understand what it means to be in the Poker Hall of Fame, to tell you the truth. You know, in the old days, if you read on the lines, it says played for the highest stakes against top-level competition. There's something like that in there. And so you kind of assumed that you had to play in the big cash game, play against the best players, and come out on top. And you know, I have been able to do that over my career. But the Hall of Fame changed. They started letting people in based on tournament results. I was playing Chinese poker with Phil Hellmuth during the World Series. You know, and obviously, you know, Phil got in because he's won a bunch of bracelets. And then he was actually talking to men. Men had come up and was saying, Phil, who are you going to vote for? And Phil just strictly said, well, I guess I'll see who has the most bracelets of the candidates, and you got a lot of men, so you may get one of my votes. And so I don't remember it saying in those criteria that it's based on, you know, tournament results and who has the most bracelets, but obviously if you look at the entrants, the people who've been allowed in recent years, it has changed more to success primarily in the World Series of Poker. And I'm not going to try to debate whether that's right or wrong, but we can see the way they've let people in. I don't know if they're going to continue that way, to let people in based on their tournament records solely and not their cash game records. So, you know, I want to go back to the point that it says one thing in the criteria and people get voted in very differently. And so my own feeling is you either have to change their criteria or if you have to change who you're letting in. So I'm very confused by that whole process. You know, I think as a cash game player, you know, I've had a good career and played against the best players. So, you know, I think that, you know, I would probably get in if people had followed my career.
Right.
And as a tournament, you know, in tournaments, you know, I really pretty much started playing tournaments in 2003. And, you know, have a good record there. So I've done okay on both those fronts. So I'm not worried about really my credentials. I think I'm more concerned about what it means to get into the Hall of Fame.
Right.
That, like I said, I don't know what it means anymore. It's confusing to me. And, you know, it's you know, your initial question before I went off on a tangent was, you know, do I think I deserve to be in, and, you know, how would it make me feel and all that? Well, you know, it doesn't change what I've done one way or the other. And just to be nominated by people, you know, is a nice thing. It's nice for people to say that they think you're a good player and have had a good career. So, you know, that's there whether I get into the Hall of Fame or not. And, you know, I guess it's kind of normal for you to want people to choose you over something else. We're in a competitive business. So you know, people choosing me would be a good thing. But it's, you know, frankly, it isn't really something, you know, except for when I have people ask me, that I spend much time thinking about. Mm-hmm. You know, I spend, my time thinking about poker is more thinking about trying to win a poker tournament or try to win money in a cash game. You know, that's really what it's all about, rather than winning, you know, something that is still a little more popularity contest than based on performance. And you know, because, you know, we still have in poker where, you know, I'm telling you, I think I've done pretty well in cash games and played against the best players, but, you know, that's what I'm saying. It's not like you've been looking at my my tax statements or you know, and stuff like that. So
yeah, it's not
I've
as
heard
tangible.
Other people say how they've played you know, against the best players and won lots of money too. I hear it all the time where, you know, there will be people, you know, on that list of candidates or not on the list of candidates who, you know, are claiming to have incredible cash game careers, and you know, not always true. So anyway, I'm either way. I'm not going to lose any sleep about it, and you know, especially like I say, you know, if I were voting, I wouldn't even pick myself as one of the first two.
Well, for all the diehard poker fans, you're always going to be known as a legend. So either way, whether it's because of cash games not being as tangible and not being as able to judge success as tournaments, maybe that's the reason why. But you'll always be in my Poker Hall of Fame, Barry.
Well, actually, Christy, now that's what's important to me. As long as I'm in your Hall of Fame, I don't need any other.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Barry.
Okay, you got it. Bye-bye.
Bye.